Hi, and welcome to the Breakthrough Emotional Eating podcast. My name is Kristen Jones, and thank you so much for joining me today. So, one of the things that I get asked a lot is like, what do you have to do? How do you combat emotional eating? How do you take care of it? Like, what's the thing? What do I need to focus on? Is it about the food? Is it about my emotions? Is it understanding my emotions? Is it having a strong why, for why I want to lose weight or why I want to stop emotional eating? And so I really thought that it was important to kind of get back to basics and really talk about truly what I think and what I believe and what I teach is the one thing that anyone needs to do if they want to manage emotional eating, if they want to um, lose weight in the process. There is one thing that you need to do. So we're going to talk about that today. So, welcome to those of you who are listening on the podcast. And if you are listening on the podcast and you are not a member of the Breakthrough Emotional Eating community on Facebook, that is where we go live from every week. We record our podcast live, and we have a bunch of amazing people listening in on the podcast, and I will be communicating with them as well. So, I want to we're going to talk about what that one thing is. But if you aren't a member, you want to be there. So www.facebook.com/groups/food breakthrough. So it came to my attention that sometimes we have a tendency to overcomplicate things. And sometimes we think it's like 15 things we have to to reach one goal, you have to do 15 things to make it happen. Well, the reality is it isn't really 15 things. There actually is just one thing. Now, there's lots of facets to this one thing that you need to be doing in order to manage emotional eating. And for most people, managing emotional eating means you're managing emotional eating because you feel you're carrying extra weight and you want to lose that weight and you want to address your emotional eating and get that under control. Because as we talk about all the time, all of you can lose weight. Anyone listening to this, anyone listening to my voice knows if you just, if you buckle down, if you make yourself miserable, oh, absolutely, you will be able to lose weight, but you're not solving the problem. You're not addressing what the issue is. You're not really making the changes that need to be made. And so that's where there's a kind of a disconnect because so many people don't know the one thing I'm going to talk about today. They don't know that that is really the key. It's not about macros. It's not about calories. It's not about, um, counting calories, keto, paleo, exercise, getting your cardio, lifting weights, all of those things that people want to attribute to, managing your weight and being at a natural weight and feeling really good about yourself. That's all the fluff and surface stuff. It's not the deeper stuff. And the deeper stuff is really what we need to deal with. So earlier this week, I in the breakthrough group, I created a post, and the post asked in 3 words or less, share what you think is the most important thing you need to address when it comes to emotional eating and taking care of emotional eating. And so there was a, a variety of responses that people gave. I do appreciate that many people did follow the directions of only giving me 3 words, which is, I know, sometimes hard for people. So we have things like manage my emotions, believe in me, hydrate, exercise, and sleep. Those 3 went together. There's more than 4, but that's okay. 3, avoid drama situations and leave the house. Those were just a sampling of what some of the things that people were telling me that was what was needed to be done in order to address and manage emotional eating. So a lot of you were very close. A lot of you were way far off. So the real thing, if you think about you as a person, there is one thing that controls everything that you do. every single thing that you do over the course of every day, of every week, every month, of every year of your life, there's one thing that's involved, and there's one thing that most people don't know how to manage. And the one thing is, you have to learn to manage your thoughts. So it's not the emotions, it's the thoughts. Okay. So we have to learn to manage thoughts. Now, some of you may be like, manage my thoughts. What the heck is that? What is that? I was thinking you were going to say, eat broccoli every day or, something like that. But it really is. It's managing your thoughts that you have, not only about yourself, but about other people, about other circumstances, about your life, about the world. I think right now, a lot of us have a lot of thoughts about things that are happening, not just in our country, but around the world. And so there's a lot of thoughts that we have going on about things that are happening around us. And so I think it's going to be really valuable for a lot of you who have never heard about this, and you never heard about, like, well, why do thoughts matter? Why is that impactful? Why is that going to make a difference on my emotional eating, and then in turn make a difference on my weight? Like, that doesn't seem to make any sense. So I'm going to talk about a couple of things. So the first thing I want to talk about is something that those of us in the know, those people who are my clients would know about, the abbreviation of what we call CTFAR. And CTFAR stands for circumstance, thoughts, feelings, actions, and results. And so what that means is that your thoughts, your circumstances, the circumstances in the world, circumstances in your life, circumstances with another person, those do not cause you to feel a certain way. Circumstances do not cause feelings. They do not cause feelings. No, no, no. When somebody does something that hurts you, that upsets you, it's not them that make you feel hurt, that make you feel sad, that make you cry. It's not them. It's the thoughts that you have given to what they have done or what the circumstance is. So we have to learn, the reality is we create our own happiness and our own drama, our own elation and our own sadness. Do we always want to avoid being sad? No, because that's not part of being a human being. Part of being a human being is having 50% positive emotions and 50% negative emotions split right down the middle. Sometimes you might feel like, oh my gosh, the negative emotions are really coming in. And I'll tell you, if that's your thought, you better believe they are. You better believe they're coming in. So it's a really, really important concept to understand, because it creates the basis for everything you do in your life. Everything, every move that you make when it comes to relationships, your job, your interactions with others, your interactions with yourself. And we'll get to that. That's a really important piece too. But so we have our circumstance, and our circumstance has to be a fact. It can't be an opinion. It can't be that person's a jerk. That's not a fact. That's an opinion. Opinion, that doesn't work. We have our circumstance, and our circumstance is going to cause us to think a certain way, or we are going to choose. It doesn't cause us to. It's going to cause us to choose to think in a certain way. And every day, every moment of every day, we have the choice of how we want to think about something that happens outside of us. Okay, every day. So I'll give you the example that I always give. And I think I've already given this example before, but sorry, you'll have to hear it again. So when my brother died, I had a choice. The reality was my brother was no longer living. And I had a choice to make. I could choose to be sad. And I was sad. Obviously, my brother died. I was very sad. My thoughts were, initially my thoughts were, oh my gosh, this is like, how is this happening to me? Like, how I can't believe this is happening to my family. And I felt very sad. And the actions that I took, I cried. I, I remember being so resentful of other people who were happy. And I just remember thinking, gosh, you don't even know what's going on with me. Like, you don't know how miserable I am. And the result that I got was I felt horrible. I felt horrible. I couldn't be there for my kids at school. I was teaching at the time. I couldn't really be there for my parents who needed me. They had just lost their son. And it just like life was hard. And then I really decided, very consciously decided that that was not the thought that my brother wanted me to have. My brother did not want me to be walking around crying, being sad all the time because he was no longer here. And so I chose to change the thought that I had about the circumstance. My brother still not there, still passed away, but I chose to change my thought about it. And what I chose to change my thought to was God gave him such grace and he wanted him so badly to be up in heaven with him because my brother was just an amazing person. And he wanted him so badly to be up in heaven with him. And so that's what the choice was. That was the decision that was made. And so suddenly I was like, yeah, like that I can wrap my head around. And that feels really good to me. That feels very peaceful. It feels very much like he's in the right place. And so the actions that I then was able to take was I was then able to, be there for my parents. I was able to be there for my nephew, his son. I was able to support my siblings because we were all going through this. And it gave me a totally different awareness and a totally different realization of the power that I had in my own life. And so the result that I got was I can talk about my brother. I can think about my brother. I think about my brother every day. And I I can be happy about it. I can be happy about the time that I got to have with him. And it gives me this very strong sense of peace, which moves my life forward. And I know he's happy about that. So that's the CTFAR that I've chosen to have. So the circumstance being my brother's death, the thought being God's given him grace. And oh my gosh, he is so lucky. He's so lucky because God took him and that's where he needs to be. And my feelings are very peaceful and very content and very at peace. The actions that I take in that is I'm able to be there for other people. I'm able to understand that sense of what it's like when you lose somebody who's very, very, very close to you and a very important part of your life. And so the result for me is that I then am able to share that with other people, and I'm able to like be that person that can help other people when they're going through something really challenging. But it's all because I chose to have that thought. Because for in the beginning, I did not choose that. That was not the thought that I chose. But I chose to make a different choice. And we get to do that every single day, every single moment of every single day. You get to decide. You get to decide. So that is kind of the basis. So when we talk about our thoughts, I'm going to go into how that relates to eating. But when we talk about our thoughts are the most powerful thing we have. And we can use them for good, or we can use them to tear ourselves down. I recommend that you use them to not tear yourself down, but to your advantage and to make you as powerful as you possibly can be. So how does that relate to eating? Like, how does that relate to eating? So as emotional eaters, we know something happens. That's the circumstance. Somebody like, I'm trying to think. I'm going to use Jackson as an example. Totally use Jackson as an example. So, and for those of you who don't know, Jackson is my dog. He's my new dog. And so Jackson pulls on the leash. That is a fact. Like my arm practically comes out. Jackson pulls me on the leash. Like anybody who watches, it's kind of crazy when we walk. So he pulls on my leash and pulls on my leash hard. And it's because sometimes it can be a real struggle when we go for a walk. My thought about that could be, "Ah, this dog's driving me crazy. This dog drives me crazy." I feel upset. I feel anxious. When I'm upset and I'm anxious I'm not in control. It's not actually that I'm upset and anxious. I feel out of control because I'm not in control of my own dog. That's what the feeling is. That's going to be legit feeling. I feel out of control. So we go for our traumatic walk and I come back. And when I feel out of control, I don't like how that feels. So what do I want to do? I love licorice. And licorice is usually in my house. It's in my house right now. So I go and I get some licorice and I'm like, oh, it feels so much better. So much better because the licorice takes my mind off the fact that my dog doesn't listen to me when we walk together. But and the result that I get is I have about 5 pieces of licorice. And I will tell you, honest to goodness, this happened. I actually think I ate like a half a pack of licorice one evening because it was like we had a really hard training time, and I was feeling so frustrated, and I was disappointed in myself. I felt like a failure, and so what did I do? I ate a half a pack of licorice, and what was the result? Oh, I felt so sick, and I felt like, man, Kristen, how long have we been doing this? And you got sucked right back in. You got sucked right back in. And so I realized that day, and so just so y'all know, and I hope everybody in the group understands this, like this stuff still happens to me 150%. I work on it every day. I try to be very conscious. I try to be very aware. I use all the strategies that I teach all of you, but there are times that I have the exact same reactions that the rest of you do. I am human and I have the exact same reactions. But I woke up the next morning feeling slightly nauseated from my half a pack of licorice. And I was just like, you know what? Can't do it. We're not going to get down. This is a new day. I'm going to learn from it. So what do I need to learn? Well, I need to learn that I have to stop having bad thoughts when my dog and I go for a walk, because that's the fact of life. And he is going to pull when the circumstance doesn't change. He's going to pull on leash. So that day I was like, you know what? I'm going out with a different attitude. So we went out for a walk the next day. And my attitude was, he pulled and I was like, you know what? We're going with it. I am not going to fight this dog. I'm going to love this dog. And I'm going to love the dog exactly where he is right now. And am I going to be able to train him? I certainly hope so. But I'm not going to let my thoughts about him ruin our relationship and cause me to feel badly about myself, out of control, and then to come home and eat stuff. And so what I decided was, I'm like, I'm going to enjoy these walks. I'm going to enjoy walking my dog, regardless of what it looks like. And I will tell you, sometimes we run into another dog and it is like Thunderdome. I mean, you would think that, and then these poor people who see us as we're walking, they think that he is going to attack. I mean, he's a husky. He's a big dog, that he is going to eat them. And all he wants to do is play. He just wants to get to them because he wants to sniff and he wants to play. He just loves being petted, loves playing with other dogs. And so that's it. And so I really I totally changed my attitude about how I feel about him when we're walking. And so that translates to when I come home. I'm happy when we come home. We've had a good walk. I compliment him as we're walking, and I come home and I don't need to go get a half a pack of licorice and eat it, because I have totally changed. The experience has been totally different because I haven't gone into it thinking, oh man, this dog is just, I changed my thoughts. That changed how I felt, and it changed how I acted. And then it changed the result that I got. And then my relationship with my dog is so much better. So that is how that connects. So I use the example of my dog, but you can think of probably a number of situations, maybe even situations where it comes to, your job, somebody else that you work with, a family member. There's just a myriad of things, but we know that when we are emotionally eating, we're not emotionally, let's be honest, we are not emotional. Some people say, oh, I emotionally, and I love y'all for saying this, but I'm going to tell you, this is not why you're emotionally eating. You are not emotionally eating because the food tastes just so good. You're emotionally eating because the food makes you feel a certain way. And that blocks out what your issue is at the moment, and that makes you feel good. It's not the food, it's the feeling of, I don't have to think about that other thing right now. I get to just be here with this thing, this buffering tool that is keeping that other ugly thought away from me, that ugly other situation that I don't want to deal with. That's what it is. So when you think about like, oh no, I just love the way food tastes. It's not the way the food tastes. It's the impact it has on your body and its ability to be able to distract your thoughts. Because again, all comes down to thoughts. It distracts your thoughts and it just allows you to be able to like, oh, but you know what? You don't need to eat to make that happen. You need to realize, why am I thinking this way? What am I thinking? Why am I thinking this way? What's the feeling I have? Can I sit with this feeling? And then can I decide that in the next circumstance, I'm going to try to think of something different? That's what we need to be doing. So we need to be managing our thoughts. What are our thoughts? Why are we having them? Do we need to feel those feelings? Absolutely. It's not about just, I'm going to just think happy thoughts. No, we want to make sure that we're managing our thoughts. So the next time we're going to take a different spin on things. But we have to make sure that we always know it comes from those thoughts. So again, the emotional eating is happening because your emotions, your feelings are not something that you're comfortable with. And you're wanting to get rid of those feelings. You're wanting to distract. You're wanting to avoid. You're wanting to cover up. Feelings are okay, whatever they are. Feelings are okay. We don't need to be so quick to change our thoughts, but we need to actually acknowledge, oh, I'm not feeling very good. What's the thought that I'm having? Okay, I can get on board with that thought. Let me just sit and feel this feeling. And not be so quick to be like, oh, let me distract it. Let me go out for a walk. Let me grab my knitting needles. Let me go online. Let me just sit with my thoughts. Let me just sit with this thought that's causing a feeling and just be there with it and not turn to food. I have to say right now we are 3 days. We just completed the third day because it's Wednesday. So we're 3.5, for those of you on the East Coast, we're 3 days into the 21-day Breakthrough Jumpstart program. And I have been so incredibly impressed with the ladies we have in the group right now who are already like sitting with feelings. We haven't even gotten to that part. And they're like sitting with feelings. They're letting themselves be hungry, letting themselves feel hunger and not being afraid, letting themselves really recognize what their thoughts are. Like, why am I feeling this way? What am I doing? It's so cool. So really, really want to commend you ladies in the 21 jump, not jump street, jump start program. And just keep up the good work. I'm so happy and so proud of you all. So again, now we have to kind of look at what is this impact on us? Okay. So if we have thoughts, so I've been talking a lot about circumstances outside of us. Okay. People do things, the world happens, we have a pandemic, all that kind of crap. So, oops, I shouldn't have said that. Sorry. I don't know if I have to say now this is explicit, so I apologize. But all of the things that are happening, all the things, the most important thoughts that we all need to manage is the thoughts that we have about ourselves, because those are far and away the most destructive that we have. So when we talk about thoughts, when we talk about managing your thoughts, the thoughts that you need to manage the most are the thoughts that you have about yourself. Negative self-talk, berating yourself, belittling yourself, telling yourself you're stupid, calling yourself names, getting upset when things don't go the way you want, and you internally turn on yourself and make yourself feel badly. That is what needs to be nipped in the bud. That needs to be really, really watched, because those thoughts are the most destructive thoughts that we have. I say it all the time. when we don't feel good about ourselves, we don't make good decisions. I'm going to say that again. When we don't feel good about ourselves, we don't make good decisions. And that comes down to decisions about relationships, decisions about food, decisions about finances, anything. We have to start paying attention to how we treat ourselves, how we feel about ourselves, and what that looks like for us. Because if that doesn't get managed, you can lose as much weight as you want. But if you genuinely, and I'm going to tell you, it's not when things are going well that you need to be concerned about. It's when all the wheels come off and you are thinking, oh my gosh, what is happening? Like things were great yesterday. Why am I in this funk? I've been hearing the word funk a lot lately. And so why am I in this funk? That's when you have to really pay attention to, oh no, I'm not going down there. I'm not going down that road. I'm not going to buy into that and allow that to dictate how I then feel about myself, the actions that I take, and the results that I get. So really learning to manage your thoughts about yourself and saying regularly, on the regular, thoughts about yourself, thoughts about you, how you love yourself, what you love about yourself, right here, right now. I don't care what weight you are. That's what you need. That is probably the first and foremost thing that is, and it's one of the first and foremost things besides talking about this. It's one of the first things that I have my clients work on is, what do you love about yourself? How do you want to think about yourself today? How do you want to feel about you as a person? Not about the vessel that you're walking around in, but you as a person at your core, and who you really are. Those are the thoughts that we need to start really managing. We don't end emotional eating. We don't end negative thoughts because they're going to come. We learn to manage them. We learn to tell ourselves, nope, I don't do that anymore. So that is you. And you will notice in anything that I write, name of my book, I do not ever say that we are going to end emotional eating. We are going to end, certain feelings that we have. No, we learn to manage things. We learn to manage our lives. I will always be an emotional eater. I will always have an issue with food. And the sooner I embraced that and realized it and was okay with it, that was when my life changed. That was when things got different, was when I actually was like, okay, that's where things are. That's what I have to do. I have to learn to accept it, accept who I am, all of the parts of me, and love that. And that's going to motivate me to take care of myself and to do the things that I need to do in order to get me exactly where I need to be. So that is the one thing, manage your thoughts. Now, if I'm saying that and you're like, I have no idea where I should even start, what is that supposed to look like? I don't even have any idea what that's supposed to look like. If you want to learn more about what it looks like to manage your thoughts, to really, really and to do it in a way that is supported. And again, I'm going to be totally honest. There's so much free information in the group, but this kind of work, this is pretty heavy. This is heavy duty stuff. This is stuff that you got to dig into. And, I actually, it was funny. I just, I'm starting with a new client. And one of the things that I said to my new client was, I'm going to tell you that there are going to be many times that you are not going to like me, that I'm going to ask you questions and I'm going to push you and you're probably not going to like me. And she said, that's good, because this has got to change and I've got to be uncomfortable. And I was like, right on, let's do it. So we have to be able to embrace that. And that means that it's not something I can give as a handout. It's not something I can just, make a video, and it's working together. It's working with, myself, with Coach Gina. It's any of that. So if that's something you want to learn more about, just put in the comments, emotions. Just put emotions and thoughts, because I think they both go together, emotions and thoughts. Put them both together, emotions and thoughts, if you want to know more about that. Or just send me a PM. And if you're friends with Gina, send Gina a PM too. She's kind of fun. I kind of like her anyway. Yeah, and you'll always enjoy talking to her. So thank you so much for listening, for joining me tonight. And I hope that this has been something that's been enlightening, that's kind of given you a little bit of an aha moment of, oh, it's the thoughts. It's not about the food. So I want to just say one thing. Y'all have noticed we're talking about emotional eating. The one thing, yeah, I'm never going to talk about food. Just so y'all know, I am never going. We are not going to be talking about food, and so that's kind of our motto amongst my clients is it's not about the food, and it never is. It's always about managing your thoughts, and making sure that you are making the best decisions for yourself. They're going to serve your life, and that starts with those thoughts. Okay, have a fabulous evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I do need to, those of you who are in the live in the Facebook group, don't sign off quite just yet. I know you guys have had some like serious conversations going on over here. So, and I know they have some birthdays that I want to definitely get in on. So, stick around and I'll jump over, but I'm going to go ahead and end the podcast. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a great evening and I will see y'all next week. Take care.